My name is Sean Hendricks. I am editor of Baptist Press, and I am here today with Dave Ramsey, President and CEO of Ramsey Solutions, and also author of Financial Peace University. And I'm also with my co-host, Mina Mora. Appreciate you guys taking the time to talk with us. We're wanting to talk about some issues. One of the main issues that's on a lot of people's minds, finances.
All the
debt,
time.
Debt.
Yeah.
I wanted you to kind of tell us a little bit about your passion for helping pastors and churches find financial peace. Share a little bit about that.
Well, I think there's a whole bunch of layers that get me excited about this. It kind of starts with I didn't grow up in church, and I met God in church with a great pastor, and so I've always had this incredible love of pastors.
Wow.
And then I speak for a living, and so I get hate mail. And
so do pastors.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. And you know, and I think a challenge is to try to send your pastor something nice every Sunday, because most people don't.
Yeah.
So just say, it was a good day.
Wow.
It was a good day. You did a good day. And even if you didn't do a good day, it's okay, because nobody else is telling him you did. You know, they're underpaid and they're underappreciated.
Wow.
And so on a personal level with those guys, I mean, they could take that same skill set in the marketplace in most cases and make more money.
Yeah.
So they're called. God called them to this.
Wow.
And so I've got a heart for helping their families be prosperous with the money that they have on a personal level, because they fall into the same traps financially that everybody else falls into, because they're people. You know, they're real people, and their kids want to go to college. They need a car. They need a house. They want to go on vacation. They're not any different than anybody else on that. And so I love helping pastors, number one. That's one layer of it, just because I love pastors. And then the second layer is I actually met God at a sales conference where a guy stood on stage and went through all these wonderful presentation about stuff I wanted to know about, and then said, oh, by the way, if you don't know God, this stuff isn't going to work.
Zig Ziglar, if I'm not mistaken.
No, it wasn't.
No, okay.
It wasn't. Zig and I became friends later, but it was a different thing. But and so what's ended up happening, meaning that I kind of came from the outside world, not the church world. I didn't grow up in church, and so I want the Financial Peace University classes to be an attraction to someone like I was, a reason for them to come over to the church to go to class to get out of debt. But oh, by the way, Jesus is there.
Wow.
And so it ends up being an evangelistic tool, is what I'm saying. And it turns out we have the answer. The people of the book, we got the book. You know, we got the book, and the answer's in the book. And if you don't have the book and you don't have the answers, then you're going to struggle with money, because there's 2,500 scriptures on how to deal with money. And if I can show you how to deal with money, oh, there's stuff in there about your marriage. Oh, there's stuff in there about your kids. And oh, by the way, Jesus is the author of this. He's the author of you, by the way, too.
Wow.
And it just, the whole thing, it's very winsome, very attractive for people in the marketplace that are not members of a church to come in if you can show them God's ways of doing things, because they work.
That's a good one.
Dave, I was thinking, one of the toughest sermons or messages that pastors have to deliver is about tithing. If you were to give some tips, some thoughts on, what spiritual stewardship, biblical stewardship actually looks like, what is it? What would you say?
One thing I tell pastors, and it's not real popular, is don't preach on tithing unless you've done 2 sermons on getting out of debt and 1 on getting on a budget. Because if you're out of debt and on a budget and you love Jesus, tithing is a natural thing that occurs.
Yeah.
They want to give. Then tithing is just an instruction. It's not a beg.
Yeah.
It's not I'm trying to get blood out of a rock. I mean, you don't have to talk about the poor widow and her mite. I mean, you can talk about you got plenty of money because you got a plan, you're doing good, and the natural thing that happens for people who love Jesus is they love to give.
Yeah.
All you got to do is give them a little bit of instruction on what that means and what a tithe means. You can give them a little bit Bible study on that. But instead of trying to just extract money from broke people, let's get them out of debt, get them on a plan, and the natural byproduct in a church that does that is the giving comes up without a lot of tugging. And so, 2 sermons on getting out of debt, 1 on a budget, and a half a sermon on a tithe, and that's the ratio for me. Instead of just tithe, and you're sitting there with people and they're going, yeah, right, I got a light bill. I got a light bill. Yeah, that's a great spiritual concept. Someday I'll get around to that. And because it's really, really tough. It's hard. And so But the overall stewardship thing, it kind of changes your mentality if you can just stop and go, it's not a tithe issue, it's not a debt issue, it's not a budget issue, it's a you don't own anything.
Wow.
You're managing it for someone else.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the instruction manual that the owner says how he wants you to manage his stuff. And that's the borrower slave to the lender. In the house of the wise are stores of choice food and oil. Jesus said, don't build a tower without first counting the cost. Have a plan. A tenth of your income. And test me in this, says the Lord of hosts, and see if I will not open up the windows of heaven and pour out for you a blessing. And the word blessing does not mean BMW.
Yeah.
When you look it up, in the Hebrew, that word blessing means peace. Like a camel finds when he comes to an oasis after having been in the desert.
Wow.
That kind of peace. And that's the blessing of Malachi. But that comes with the giving. And God says, test me in that. And I'll give you peace that you cannot contain, that surpasses all understanding. Wow. It's so fun, y'all. This is so fun.
You enjoy it.
But it starts with the idea that I don't own nothing. And all of a sudden, when I don't own anything, the heat and air goes out on my house. I'm like, hey, God, heat and air's out on your house. What are we going to do about your house? I'm a renter.
Wow.
Yeah.
And he goes, well, I gave you a little money here to pay for. Okay, that's good. I'll do that. I just want to check and be sure. And where am I going to get the money? I'll send you a little, and it changes my stress level if I'm not the owner.
Now, Dave, I got to ask this question because you've been speaking a lot in a lot of churches lately. What do you enjoy about that? Because you seem to come alive, definitely on your show. But when you're preaching to church world, you really come alive. Am I right about that, or?
Well, it's home folk. I mean, it's like I don't have to go. I don't have to be. I don't have to be going, okay, did I use too much scripture here? Because the people in this corporate environment are really going to get ticked if I go way crazy on,
church.
Because I don't take a speaking gig if they say I can't share my faith. But I want to be, if I'm in someone else's home in a corporate environment or something, I want to be kind. So I'll talk about my faith, but in a way that's appropriate when I'm in their home. But in church, I can just be me. Because I got all these, I got a Rolodex of these scriptures, man. They just come out, because I've been doing it for so long, and it's just fun. Plus, again, I get to use the radio show with 15 million listeners, and 1 million followers on Twitter, and I go, hey guys, I'm going to be in Fort Lauderdale. Come over on Sunday if you're not doing anything.
And they come.
And church is free.
Yeah.
Come out and see it, and
Wow.
and so that kid like Dave Ramsey was, that doesn't go to church, he might come out because he might listen to me on the radio. And he might get led to the altar that morning.
Wow.
And so, that you can't beat that. That's about as good as it gets.
No, man, I feel like I've done a lot of research on you for the last 2 years. So forgive me because I may have
okay.
actually looked and stalked you a little too much here. But I've interviewed.
He's excited.
I'm really
Digital
excited
stalker, are you?
Yeah, like we're insecurity. I interviewed your daughter a couple of months ago, and that was great. And I got to spend the day with Dan Milner, who wrote the 48 Days. Don't tell him I got his name wrong there. But I spent some time with him. So it's been interesting hearing about your life before and now after. Man, does it surprise you, shock you when there are people who are coming here to the lobby to clap and cheer because they're getting out of debt with their little girl or little boy? Like, what do you look back at from when you were in bankruptcy to now? Do you get it? I mean, do you get a little emotional, excited about that?
Oh, I do. It never stops.
Huh.
I'm a blessed man because I'm actually a guy who discovered God's call on his life early.
Wow.
And when you're in when you're doing a career, it's one thing. When you're doing a job, it's another thing. When you're in a calling, it is fun every day. I get upset. I get, I have people mean to me. I'm like everybody else. I go through all this stuff. But I mean, there's bad days and there's good days. But I don't ever get tired of meeting that guy in the lobby when I go out at the commercial break. And yesterday, a guy, 55 years old, Dave, we just paid off our house. And he goes, and right now, we've been doing this stuff for 8 years. We took FPU in our church, and we met God in our church because we went to FPU class. We got out of debt, and we just paid off our house, and Dave, we're millionaires right now. And our giving, we are giving like crazy. Thank you. Wow. And I'm like, dude, I didn't do any of that. You did it. I just showed you how. You're the hero. And, I get to hug that guy and take a picture with him, 55 years old. He's winning.
Wow.
I love it.
It seems like you definitely do. 50,000 plus churches use Financial Peace University. What have you heard from those churches?
Well, I mean,
we could be here all day on this one.
Yeah, but everything on the spectrum, because out of 50,000, it might be one guy taught a class to 4 people and they never taught it again, but that's one of the 50,000, right?
Yeah.
Or it might be that a church took everybody through it and the culture of the church has changed permanently. The way people view money through a biblical lens now is changed, because if you can get get 80% of the people in there, it takes a little while, but you get them out of debt over a few months, and then they get their emergency fund in place, and they learn to work together as a couple, and they're on a budget. Again, that church sees their income come up, and the ministries that can be done around the world and in the neighborhood go up, because the income is transferred then into the church coffers, as it should be, because that's the biblical model.
Wow. You guys are very generous around here, which is what I appreciate about what you guys do. One of the feedbacks I got from some pastors was, man, it's too expensive for our people. And I usually shout back and go, well, it's too expensive for them not to do it. Yeah. But what do you say to folks who go, it's too expensive for our people?
I think if you surveyed your people, they spend that on pizza in a month.
Yeah.
Really.
Easily.
And that's any socioeconomic strata, by the way. It's not $900.
Right.
It's $99 or $109 or that kind of thing. And by the way, we're restructuring the prices, so it's going to get even better. But in the future, but that's a real thing, and I'd love to get the cost down. And as we get, there, but here's what's interesting. I used to teach it with an overhead projector and a bad suit. It was $569 to go through. That guy that met me in the lobby, that after 8 years got out of debt and became a millionaire, he would have paid $10,000 to go through that.
Yeah.
And gotten a good return on his investment.
Yeah.
Wow.
If you think about it.
I agree.
So is it worth it is the question. And, I think it's worth it. We're working on the cost. I appreciate that. But most people, they make a choice about what they're going to spend money on. They spend it on their hair, they spend it on their nails, they spend it on shoes, they spend it on other things other than improving themselves. They spend it on cable. And watching other people succeed on a tube.
Wow.
And
cable.
So I get it, but we have the money, like we have the time to do what's important. You don't think you have any time to see your kids? Wait till one of them's sick. Everything goes down, you go over there. You can just take stuff off the calendar, right?
Yeah.
You have the time. It's just how you allocate it.
It's a good word.
Good. Any other thoughts on just that maybe you didn't get a chance to touch on, the struggles that pastors are facing, or what you can say to just give them a little bit more encouragement, in regards to, their salaries and just the struggles that come with making it day in and day out, things that you hadn't.
Well, it's again, as we said early on in the process, I got a love for pastors, and I appreciate who they are. And in that vein, what I would tell a pastor is the same thing I tell anyone, and that is your career needs to be growing. And so guess what? Your salary will grow as your church grows. And if it doesn't, you need some new elders. But you elder boards, you need to look at the ratio and say, are we muzzling the ox while he treads out the grain? Are we paying our people well? I mean, youth pastors starve to death.
Yeah.
Music ministers starve to death. Our data says that somewhere around 70 to 80% of pastors now are bivocational.
Yeah.
They have to have an outside job to survive. Because they're planting or in the early stages of a church, or they've come into a church that they've got to help turn it around and get it going. But, we evangelize, we get people into the church is growing, we're teaching them about marriage, we're teaching them about money from a biblical perspective, child raising from a biblical perspective. You'll see the income change in the church, and then you've got a very real ask to the elder board to say, our family needs to get some of that. And that's not a greedy thing. It's just that you're running a larger organization than you used to run.
Yeah. Tell us a little more. One of the things I did want to ask you is tell us a little bit more about your partnership with the Southern Baptist Convention, kind of how you're working with them. And this summer you spoke naturally at the Southern Baptist Convention, but talk a little bit about some things you're doing with the convention specifically.
Well, I mean, we've loved the idea that we can partner with the Southern Baptist. Southern Baptist people have taught our stuff for decades. I mean, it's not like it's a new thing.
Right.
But what happened was Steve Gaines, at Bellevue, he goes, comes up here, spends some time with us. They take Bellevue through the thing. Jonathan Falwell takes their group through it, and all these other major players have taken their group through the whole church through the momentum thing, we call it, where the whole church goes through financial peace, and they start seeing the results, and they start seeing the evangelism aspect, which makes a guy like Steve Gaines more excited than the money does. Because he's not excited about money, but you can talk about souls being added and
He gets very excited.
Marriages being saved, because the number one cause of divorce is money problems.
Wow.
Marriages being saved and souls being led into the kingdom. And by the way, our giving went up. It's like that's an aside for guys like that, because they're evangelists at heart. That's who they are, and that's why he and I connected. That's why we became instant friends. We're cut out of the same cloth, and so then that made the connection. He goes, "Well, I'm coming into this little role here. I'm going to be kind of head of the SBC, so we need to talk about how we can have other churches have the experience that we had." And it wasn't a thing. I know there's pushback in the community, Dave Ramsey infomercial at the SBC convention and all that stuff. I saw all that stuff. I get all the hate too, but I understand. But that really wasn't our spirit. Our spirit was we had a whole series of churches that went through the thing and have gone through the thing for years and had these wonderful experiences, and they wanted us to share that, and we want to share it. We want to be helpful. We want to serve. If people don't do it because they're mad at me or they think I'm some kind of prosperity guy or something, they kind of miss the point. They kind of miss the point. I mean, our whole thing is just how many people can we help? And I got these guys listening to me on XM radio that are truck drivers and going across, and they may turn into your parking lot and never been in the parking lot of a church before and come to this class.
Wow.
And, there's stuff happens there. There's stuff happens in the kingdom when you do that. And so that's how it came about. Okay. And so there's no big special thing. It's just we just want to help, and we wanted to try to, we gave everybody, all the pastors at the SBC, the free course. Go through the thing free on us, And that's for two reasons. One is we want to help them, and two, it's sample. It's a little sample you get at Costco. Does it taste good or not? Do you want this for your people? And if you do, then we'll help you get it done.
Last question here. You're trying to fade out, is what I'm being told anyway. Which is hard to actually say those words, Dave, because you meant so much to my family. But you're trying to fade out. What do you want your legacy to be when this is all said and done?
I think it already is. Some people think this is all about me, but it isn't about me.
Yeah.
It has never been about me. It's about that guy and that single mom in the lobby doing her debt-free scream.
Yeah.
And for the next generation of people that carry this message, or what we call them Ramsey personalities around here right now, it's not about them. We're not heroes. We're the people that show the hero how to become the hero.
Wow.
That dad and mom that become the hero and change their family tree. And that's who we want to be. This whole organization is that. And the truth is, I'm not fading out as much.
You're not going anywhere anytime soon.
As much as what we're doing is we're building what's going to happen when I'm not here, and we have to build this whole stable of racehorses to carry this place. And they're the Ramsey personalities, the Chris Hogans, the Rachel Cruzes, the Anthony O'Neills, the Ken Colemans, the Christy Wrights. These kinds of people that are world-class media and authors and thought leaders in their spaces become part of this team, and they carry this brand not only generationally, but what's happening is they're becoming such big deals in terms of the space they take up, that it's making me look smaller. I didn't really get smaller. I didn't fade out. Yeah. They're just eclipsing me is what's happening.
I got you.
When will you know, real quick, when your goal, you're a goal-oriented person, how do you know that your mission in helping churches become debt-free has been reached? When do you feel like there will ever be a point where you've been like, wow, I accomplished what I set out to do? Or do you... I don't know.
I don't have a goal for all of them to be debt-free, because I don't think that'll happen. Because we're dealing with human nature, and people will always make choices. Right. And some of them are not smart, including this guy. Okay,
including us too, by the way.
There will always be a problem there. It's like, is there a point that, if you're an evangelist and you said, is there a point that everybody meets Jesus? Probably not. Don't see that in Scripture. There'll still be some that didn't when he comes back. So, but as an evangelist, what I want to do, I want to get to as many as I can. Yeah. And it's the old starfish story of the guys throwing the starfish back that had washed up on the shore, there's thousands of them there, and the guy says, well, you can't do any good. He goes, well, I did good for that one.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what I want to do. I want to do good for that one. And if there's a whole bunch of that ones, then we hit our goal.
I gotta tell you,
great.
It's been a joy to be here with you today.
Honored to be with y'all.
A lot of pastors would love to be in these seats that we're in here.
Well, come by, guys.
They can come by.
Come by and see me.
I will let them know to call.
We got coffee and cookies.
But just thank you for allowing us to sit here in these seats and ask you questions.
We're honored to be with y'all. Thank you for everything, guys.
Thank you
It's a
so
pleasure.
much for your time.
It's a pleasure.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you, guys.